DIY.
DIYers, over the last week, it got really interesting after Drake decided to release a troll diss. I don't know what you may call it, but a troll diss in which he utilized AI voice cloning to act as Tupac, to act as Snoop, and basically he used these voices to taunt Kendrick Lamar. Now, when he put the song out there, it was met with a lot of mixed reviews. Some people called it a brilliant chess move. Some people felt like it was very disrespectful. I was one of those that felt like it was disrespectful to cosplay as someone who is no longer here with us. Apparently, those on this side weren't the only ones that felt that way. Not sure if you have seen the news, but here on this TMZ article, the Tupac estate is threatening to sue Drake over AI on the tailor-made diss song.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Why would you want to do that? Well, the article goes on to say that the Tupac Shakur estate is laying down the law on Drake, threatening to drag him to court for using an AI-generated version of the late rapper's voice for a diss track aimed at Kendrick Lamar. TMZ has obtained the cease and desist letter fired off by the attorney for Tupac's estate, Howard King. Keep that name in mind. We're going to come revisit exactly who Howard King is and what relation he has to the person that was handed over the estate by Afeni Shakur. And he calls out Drake for the AI verse on tailor-made Freestyle, saying not only is this record a flagrant violation of Tupac's publicity and the estate's legal rights, it is also a blatant abuse of the legacy of one of the greatest hip-hop artists of all time. The cease and desist says, we represent the estates of Tupac Shakur and Afeni Shakur and Amore Entertainment, sole owners of Tupac Shakur's publicity and personality rights and copyright. Now, I forgot to get this title. The title says the misappropriation and misuse of Tupac Shakur's personality rights. I think we're going to hear more about personality rights and maybe even have it defined as something else the more that the laws catch up with AI. And it goes on to say the estate is deeply dismayed and disappointed by your unauthorized use of Tupac's voice and personality in the tailor-made Freestyle that she released last Friday. If you recall, Drake released this via his Instagram account and he allowed it to float in different places. He didn't put it on streaming. I kind of felt like that wasn't going to happen, but he put it up and Snoop had the reaction that he had, which was really just kind of like, it kind of felt like he was just being playful about it, and he alluded to Death Row Records having some kind of involvement in it because, of course, he is over Death Row Records, right? So, with that said, the estate goes on to say it would never have given approval for this, and it has issues and an ultimatum. Take down the track in less than 24 hours and explain how it was made, or else. I think a lot of artists have questions about not just this case in particular, but just AI in general. Where are you training? Like, where are you getting your sources from that are training your AI technology? A lot of them are very, very vague about where this is coming from, because I think my guess would be because you saw Snoop pointing to the Death Row Records on his jacket. I'm thinking the albums that are left still in possession of the Death Row catalog are movie soundtracks that include Tupac's voice, like Gang Related. And it's my guess that if they have access to that via the Death Row Records and via the Gamma stake that is within Death Row Records, and obviously the relationship between Larry Jackson and Drake and possibly Gamma, I think that that's probably where you're going to be seeing that source from. So, in Drake's track, AI Pac raps, Kendrick, we need you, the West Coast savior, engraving your name in some hip-hop history. If you deal with this viciously, you seem a little nervous about all the publicity. As well as Tupac, Drake's diss song also included vocals from Snoop, all throughout the power of AI. The song even ruffled the feathers of Tupac's brother, Mopreme Shakur, who told us Drake's weaponizing Tupac's voice just for a rap battle didn't fly with him. We're going to talk about that in some more detail, but I wanted to get more information about Howard King, who is, at this point, just litigating on behalf of the estate. Now, this article from XXL gives a little bit more information that we're looking for. This article is from May 4th, 2016, and it says that Afeni Shakur set up an airtight trust to protect Tupac's music. This was during a divorce that she was going through, and she wanted to make sure that Tupac's music that she had in her possession was protected. The article says, in March, there was speculation that Tupac's estate could be at risk, and his mother, Afeni Shakur, went through the process of divorcing Gus Davis, who was seeking half of all profits earned from it. The rap world was saddened Tuesday, May 3rd, to learn of Afeni's passing. But according to TMZ, she went through all the necessary steps to ensure that Pac's estate and legacy would be properly handled without here. A trust has been set up to control all of Tupac's music rights with Tom Whalley. This is a name we're going to really get to know. The former head of Warner Brother Records, named as the executor. So he's the executor on behalf of the estate. Tom Whalley is also someone who used to be the president over at Interscope. He was very instrumental in signing Tupac to Interscope. So it says, as TMZ reports, the trust is specific about heirs, with the money earned by the estate close to $1 million a year going to select charities and family members. Afeni was survived by her sister Gloria and her daughter, I struggle with this name, but Sekiwa Shakur, also known as Set, who was likewise Tupac's half-sister. I started digging a little bit deeper about Tom Whalley and what exactly he does in terms of the estate, right? Because a lot of people were making comparisons between Drake and between Kendrick Lamar's use of Tupac's voice in skits on The Pimp a Butterfly. Well, if you did your research, you would see that the estate was in support of it. I've seen Mopreme talk about being in support of the use of it because of the way that it was used. It wasn't used to troll. It wasn't used to make fun of. It was used in a way that honored the type of art and energy that a Tupac stood on. Now, in this article from Grunge that was made in 2022, January 13th, they talk about Tom Whalley and also some of the possible mishandling he may have of the estate. I'm going to tell you why this is important, because there are people who are kind of defending, maybe they're defending Drake, maybe they're defending whoever, maybe they're defending the actual half-sister. And there is conversations about how Tom Whalley has not handled the estate in the way that she saw fit. It says in January 2022, actually, no, let's go back here. Where we at? It says the hip hop star Tupac was known for his career as much as he was for his controversial life. Shakur's legacy, however, lives on, as biography reports that he has sold more than 75 million records worldwide. At the time of his death, he was worth only $200,000. Wow. In 2019, however, Shakur's estate was valued at $40 million. Whoa.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
According to Daily Express, as he was not married at the time of his death, his mother, Afeni Shakur, inherited his estate, rightfully so. In May 2016, it was reported that Afeni had died at the age of 69. Who would control Shakur's estate then? Well, before her death, Afeni had set up a trust for her son's music rights and named Tom Whalley as the executor. Per TMZ, Whalley is the former head of Warner Brother Records back in 1989. He was working for Interscope and had signed a young Tupac to the label. So I had questions about how all of this wraps around in terms of the connection to Howard King as it is to Tom Whalley. So I started doing a little bit of digging, and this is what I found. So Tom Whalley remains the executor of Tupac Shakur's estate, as appointed by Tupac's mother. Matter of fact, in this interview that you'll see with Reggie Wright, who was the general manager of Death Row Records when Tupac was there, he talks about how much Afeni Shakur leaned on this particular attorney, or this lawyer. So it says, as appointed by Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, before her death in 2016, Howard King is not the executor, but serves as a lawyer for the estate. and he has been involved in defending Wally against allegations of mismanagement by Tupac's sister, said Shakur. So, from the information available, it seems that Howard King and Tom Wally worked together in managing the legal aspects and challenges related to the estate, rather than Howard King having taken over the rights or duties as the executor. Wally has been accused by Set of mismanaging the estate and enriching himself at the expense of the beneficiaries, which includes handling the income from Tupac's music rights through Amore Entertainment, the label managing Tupac's posthumous releases. So, I want to get a few different perspectives on this, but I want to start here with Mopreme, who's Tupac's brother. And this is what he had to say. This is another TMZ article that I'm going to go ahead and share with you. In this TMZ article, you hear that Mopreme Shakur, Tupac's brother, tells TMZ Hip Hop that his issue with Drake using an AI Tupac voice is that he weaponized it, all for a rap battle. Mopreme tells us Drake using Pac's voice is like bringing out a tank or even going with a nuclear option, and he thinks the battle should be just a one-on-one with no help, no outside help. Of course, Mopreme isn't naive to the fact that Kendrick is a West Coast legend himself, inspired by Pac, and Drake is trying to push some buttons. I want to draw your attention here also to get a little bit more information about Howard E. King. So he is included in Hollywood Reporter's 2017 Top 100 Power Lawyers for a 7th consecutive year. It says that Howard King, as you can see here in this photo, has clients that range from Dr. Dre, Pharrell Williams, and Peter Paterno. It says King is handling the famous Blurred Lines case for Pharrell. Remember, he was getting sued for Blurred Lines. He helped Dre gain royalties to the Chronic after the artist split with Death Row. Last year, Dre thanked him at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with NWA, when NWA was inducted. King has been around a long time. Remember Metallica's lawsuit against Napster? Of course, that was him. Whoa, did not know that. Plus, he reps Kanye West, a full-time job in itself. So this is somebody who's obviously connected, someone who a lot of people trust with the most important aspect of their business, right? Protecting it through the law, making sure that they're getting all the royalties in different places. So when I was on Twitter and I was sharing this, I think a lot of people were so wrapped up in me being someone who is obviously a fan of Kendrick, they weren't realizing like, they were sending me screenshots of like white guys. They were like, you mean this Tupac estate? And so I'm like, I know there's always something deeper to this. There's always something deeper than the surface, right? So then that led me over to a few different places because I wanted to get more information, not just on Howard King, but also on the character of a Tom Wally. And so I found this video here with Reggie Jackson, who I mentioned earlier before was the general manager of Death Row Records at the time that Tupac was there. Here's what he said about Reggie Wright's sister. Reggie Wright, this is what Reggie Wright had to say about Tupac's half-sister, Sekua, suing Tom Wally, because we talked about that a little bit earlier about his mismanagement of funds. So this is what he had to say about Tom Wally, and, because I think it's important to get this information to see if there's other motives for him wanting to go after Drake. I'm going to discuss whether or not I think it's going to be something that goes through and actually works. We're going to have all those details, but I want to make sure I get all this information out first to you.
Okay. Tupac's sister is suing Tom Wally, who you've dealt with before, I think, and is accusing him of, quote, improperly lifting $5.5 million over the past 5 years from the record label Amore Entertainment. The suit also alleges that Tom Wally refused to give back personal items that belong to Tupac that have tremendous sentimental value, including gold records, vehicles, jewelry, and artwork. Did you hear about this? And if so, do you have any opinions about it?
I heard about it. Afeni has a lot of faith in Tom Wally. Always has. He never liked Suge and Death Row. He never was a big fan of ours at all. It was always this guy named David Cohen, Steve Berman, and Jimmy that was the top executives at Interscope that looked out. But he was the number 2, number 3 guy. at Interscope. But he never had no love for Death Row. But Afeni did, because Tom was instrumental in dealing with Pac projects prior to him coming over to Death Row. I never observed Tom Wally's and Pac relationship to be like that. But even after Pac's death, when I had to deal with him, Afeni and Molly leaned on Tom a lot, and he had a lot to say so. Unfortunately, y'all, that's who Feeney left in charge of the estate. I don't know if it's a lifetime agreement where he's over the estate. I don't know if there's any time limits or any scales or whatever he has to reach. And if he doesn't, then he don't be over the estate. But I guess we have to honor Afeni's wishes.
So there's two sides to this. You guys know already. It'll be a very rare day before you see me stand on the side of anyone who is attached to that music industry as an exec. It'll be a cold day in hell before you see me. But I am someone who is able to get information and see, all right, I could see it from both perspectives, at least from the perspective of operating business. If Tupac's mother, if Afeni Shakur, in good faith, handed over the estate over to Tom Wally, trusted and leaned upon him to help with the legal matters and issues that were circulating around Pac after he passed away, that holds a lot of weight. However, I don't think it's fair for me to just show these perspectives and not go to this article here where Tupac's half-sister, who is over the Tupac Shakur Foundation. It's not fair if I don't give the perspective here, because I can understand where she's coming from, especially if Tom Wally is responsible for these things as well. So this article is actually, let me get the full screen here. This article is from Ebony Magazine, and it was January 12th, 2022. Check this out. It says Tupac's sister claims executor, Tom Wally, of her mother's estate has embezzled millions. The sister of Tupac Shakur has filed a lawsuit against the executor of the late mother's estate, claiming he embezzled millions. She also stated that the executor refused to return personal items that have tremendous sentimental value, such as the rapper's gold records. In a lawsuit filed on Monday in Los Angeles, said Shakur, along with Tupac Shakur Foundation, accused Tom Wally of blatant violations of his role as executor of Afeni Shakur Davis's estate, including allegedly appointing himself in a management position, which is a conflict of interest. He has effectively embezzled millions of dollars for his own benefit. Wally has unreasonably enriched himself at the expense of the beneficiaries and in bad faith by taking excessive compensation in a position from which he should properly be barred from, or barred based on the inherent conflict of interest. So there's obviously tension there from the sister and Tom Wally. But with that said, I think that there's a few different things we got to think about. The first one being, you guys already know how I feel about Drake using the Tupac AI. I mean, beyond it, just to me, just personally, this is my personal opinion now. Beyond it being just corny, I understand it's an opportunity to win over the internet, and it falls into trolling culture, which a lot of people, a lot of younger folks definitely see the benefit in and participate themselves. So in that aspect, I get it. It was funny how, people, like I said, there's a lot of only male Drake fans, which is crazy. A lot of moist male Drake fans on Twitter that were very angry with me. And all I did was ask questions. However, one of them said, I can't believe it's hard to see Curtis King sell his soul. I said, it's crazy that you worried about souls when your boy just used the AI voice cloning of a dead man who is not here to defend his own soul. Give myself the bomb.
Somebody
But priorities and shit, you know. With that said, though, there's a few things. So do I feel like they're actually going to get anything from this lawsuit with Drake? I think that Drake is very protected. I think the fact that he has Universal as a partner, a strong partner, I think he'll always be taken care of. Always be taken care of. I think that they'll figure out a number, settle on it, and they'll settle out of court, and we'll barely even hear about it. We'll hear more news about this now than it actually being settled. Now, if they say we don't want a settlement, we want to make a point in the name of protecting the rights and the personality rights of these artists, shit, have at it. I'm excited to see where that goes because the laws need to catch up. I think what's really interesting about Universal's poster child and Drake being the one that is pushing the AI so recklessly, because obviously he didn't get permission from the Tupac estate to do this, to push it so recklessly, and you're on behalf of Universal, who not even last year was angry with the reckless nature of a ghostwriter using Drake's voice for AI for a TikTok video. And the song going viral. I think he might have put it on streaming. They were so concerned about it. They said, we got to make sure we talk to the streamers. We got to get ahead of this. They said all that just for 8 months later, them to have their biggest artists go out there. You don't think they gave approval for that? Think about it. Think about it. Universal has benefited off of fake conflict before between Kanye and 50 Cent. They were both underneath the Universal umbrella. They do this. They know that there's money to be made. If in fact, I would say that this is a playbook that they have specifically for hip hop, because money is getting generated throughout all of this beef conversation, through all of the media, through all of the conversations like this one right here. Money is getting generated in places we'll never know. But I do think the bigger conversation is our ability to protect our voices, our personality as artists. Now, last but not least, I want to give a big shout out to the PRO that I'm involved with, because they're actually taking the steps necessary to protect us. I don't know if you saw this, but I saw this article here actually on the ASCAP website. And they're talking about how they were able to pass a law called an act called the Elvis Act in Tennessee. And I really hope that this is a sign of what's to come to protect from these kind of things happening. This is just a moment, right? Asking whether or not he can get sued and any kind of monetization. People are making arguments about it. Well, he's not making money off of it. The moment that song started getting played on radio stations, right, whether authorized or unauthorized, we got an issue. The moment you take someone else's likeness without permission, we got an issue. If the people who are making bootleg Marilyn Monroe t-shirts, right, before they were able to do that, could get cease and desist, if the folks making SpongeBob SquarePants, remember them old diamond ass shirts in the swap meet where SpongeBob is smoking, red eyes and diamonds and shit, if they can get a cease and desist, what makes you think Drake is bigger than that? They know there's money to be made there. With that said, though, here's something that I saw with ASCAP. They said on March 21st, 2024, Tennessee became the first state to enact a law that protects musicians' voices from unauthorized impersonation by artificial intelligence, aka AI. Shout out to them.
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
When the Elvis Act goes into effect July 1st, 2024, it will be illegal in Tennessee to replicate a creator's voice without his or her consent, and creators will be able to sue for damages if their voice is replicated without authorization. Shout out to ASCAP for getting ahead of that. It is unfortunate that we're in a time if you would have told me a year ago or 2 years ago that we would be really having conversations about AI voice cloning and the laws that circulated it, I would hope that the laws have caught up. And it just seems like they have not caught up. I know it takes a long time. There's a lot of steps for this to happen. But it is very important that you watch how these huge companies, forget Drake versus Kendrick right now. Just think about UMG. Think about the bigger companies that are setting a certain precedent, that are allowing things to happen the way that they're happening. Because we laugh today, because a lot of this AI shit is funny. We complain tomorrow when it starts affecting our money. Those are my thoughts, though, DIYers. You let me know what you think.
DIY.